Hello, Jack. How are you?
Just great. How are you?
Awesome. And I'm so excited about how technology is allowing us to speak from Florida to France and to discover more about your amazing project. You're the inventor and the genius and the creator behind the Venus Project. A lot of people are talking about this. This is more relevant than ever. You must be excited at 95 years old, nearly 96, to see more and more people talking about it and to see this more and more real. How awesome!
Thank you.
Tell us about this vision. Tell us what does the Venus Project represent to you and for the world?
Well, it seems that we're moving in the wrong direction. We're making our universities better equipped than ever, but the bombs are getting worse. The wars are getting longer. And it seems that people are too materialistic. They're not concerned with one another and other nations. We are concerned with the future of humanity. We want human beings to learn to care for all people throughout the world. And the Venus Project is designed to build a better life for all the world's people rather than a selected few. I'm very much against the separation of nations. I'd like them all to become one and share the Earth's resources collectively so that we all enhance the lives of one another. To put an end to poverty, hunger, unemployment, and the end of militarism, and to build a world in which all human beings participate.
What do you think are the conditions for that? What is essential for this project? What are the essential things that it needs to have?
What it needs, people do not move unless conditions force them to move. If they lose their home, their job, and they can't get another job, if automation replaces a lot of people, then they'll be looking for something new. But as long as they're working and like their lifestyle, they don't change. Unfortunately, people are changed by biosocial pressures or the march of events.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's possible to live with no money?
Yes, it's very possible. But we want to build a resource-based economy. Instead of money, we make resources available to all the world's people. In other words, where did we get this land? Where did America get it? They took it by force and violence from the Indians. Mm-hmm. The Indians did not invite us over to build whatever we wanted to build. We took the richest land for ourselves. This appears to be true of all nations. They're self-centered and they want personal advantage systems, and the world cannot work that way. When few nations control most of the Earth's resources, you're going to have territorial disputes no matter how many laws you make.
Mm-hmm. So we've been abusing of the planet Earth we're living on, very much so.
We're abusing the oceans. The U.S. Army dumped 67 tons of nerve gas off the coast of Miami. Did you know that?
No.
George Washington, our first president, had 300 slaves. Today he'd be run out of town. In other words, politicians were good 100 years ago, but there are much better systems today.
You're even saying that there's no actual democracy.
Well, there's really no democracy. In a democracy, you would have all points of view on television. If our president criticized another country, we would invite the prime minister of that country on to give his point of view. But when you've only got one point of view, you do not have a democracy.
So tell us more, going back to the point with money, because a lot of people talking about that, how it's possible to really live with no money.
Okay, if you had $2 million and you were stranded on an island, and the island had no water, no arable land, no vegetation, you have nothing. You can't eat the money. So we concern ourselves with resources, not money. It's resources that we need, lots of it. Arable land, all the world's people need the same thing: clean air, clean water, a relevant education, and the love of humanity.
So how is it possible to put this in place? Where do you start from? What is needed?
First of all, people have to know how their system works, and they don't even know how it works. They don't even know what a democracy is. A lot of people come up to me and say, is that a participatory democracy, the Venus Project? So I say to the person, did you vote for the Vietnam War? She said, no. Did you vote for the space program? She said, no. I said, where do you participate? Very few people really participate in the design of our nation. It's just an illusion they put forth to make people feel that they participate. The people elected into government are not there to change things. They're there to keep things as they are. That's how they get elected. They're selected on the basis of conforming to the social institutions that are dominant.
Mm-hmm. What else for you is going wrong in our society? You're talking about language too? We would need to reinvent another language?
Yes. The language we use today, in America at least, or France, or England, or Germany, was designed hundreds of years ago. Mm-hmm. And the language is inadequate. Whenever you speak to another person, you talk at them. It goes into their head and comes out interpreted based on their environment. You can't really, when a person tells you they have a 2-day vacation, you say, have a nice vacation. You don't control the weather. You don't control the vacation. So what you do is you say, have a nice life and be done with it. Why just say, have a nice vacation? These are automatic statements we make. Every word we use, all our facial expressions are learned from movies, books, role models, television, radio, soap operas. All of that shapes our values. A Chinese baby was never born speaking Chinese. They had to go to school and learn it. The same with American or French. A Frenchman might say, La Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower. But the way he says it depicts his environment. If you were brought up in Australia, you'd say, how are you, mate? Do you understand? And if you're brought up in the South, you speak with a Southern accent. So very few people are really individuals, although they think they are. They believe they're individuals, but they always reflect their culture.
So you're saying we're a product of our environment. So how do we go about it? Because it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg thing. How do we grow in a new environment?
You have to change our language so that it communicates. In other words, we have to have a language that's not subject to interpretation. When you read the Bible, somebody says, this is what Jesus meant. Another person says, oh no, you're wrong, he meant this. The third person says, you're both wrong. That's why you have the Lutheran, the Seventh-day Adventist, the Catholic, because the Bible is subject to interpretation. When scientists talk to each other, like chemistry or mathematics, it's not subject to interpretation. They understand exactly what the other person's talking about. You couldn't build bridges if it was subject to interpretation, if a blueprint was subject to interpretation. Do you understand that?
Yeah, and though I understand that science can be very limited, and now science is also splitting. So even though if we agree and we create a new language, it still seems that separation is not at the source of human beings, but it comes back to that right now.
Yes, it does. So scientists used to write books on why man can't fly. They're not scientists. They would say, I don't know how to build a flying machine. I don't know if man can fly. Learning to say I don't know is the most honest thing you can do.
So how did you learn how to believe when all this started? I read something about you in 1929 during the Great Depression. That was kind of a pivotal moment.
Yes. During the Great Depression, I noticed that politicians would say things people like to hear. and they lie about one another. The Democrats lie about the Republicans lie about the Democrats. That isn't a democracy. That's an autocracy where certain people maintain control, and that is the powerful. The powerful like things as they are, and they like to keep it that way. So this society we call an established society. We don't like an established society. We care for an emergent society that keeps growing. There are no final frontiers. There are no utopias, no best city. There's no best laptop you can design. You can only design the best laptop you know of up to now. But 2 years from now, it'll be smaller, lighter, and do many more things. There's no limit to what people are going to accomplish. When you have a fixed society or established, it's to keep things as they are. And we want an emergent society that is a state of constant growth and knowledge.
So in constant state of creativity, because I guess your project must
Yes.
have evolved and constantly you're rethinking it, and you must be surprised of where we're at,
Yes,
considering what you thought we would be right now.
We're moving technically, but not socially.
Yeah.
Our computers are getting better, faster, but our social system has poverty, hunger, unemployment. All that is not necessary. With today's technology, we can build a world of abundance, not just material abundance, but spiritual, where there's no armies, no navies, no military system, no prisons, and no police. Our system is one in which every human being has access to the necessities of life. If you don't understand that, it's like the public library. Anyone can check out a book. Next door to the public library, we have a camera center where anyone can check out a camera. Next door to that, we have musical instruments, like a library, where anyone can check out a musical instrument. That would put an end to crime. Crime is made by scarcity, lack of opportunities to gather a higher standard of living. So people right now are concerned with their standard of living. So if they become unemployed due to machine technology taking away their job, and if you don't give them unemployment compensation, they will break the windows and take things from markets. So I see a lot of trouble ahead. I'm sorry about that. I wish it were otherwise.
Do you think it's part of that evolution that we need something will happen or something big needs to change to break this fear-based mentality to a more loving and inclusive one?
Yes, they have to lose their home, their jobs, before they even concern themselves with other people. In this world today, it's a competition. In the future, it'll be sharing ideas, not competition. Sharing ideas with other people. When you have a patent, you deprive other people of your ideas. If you can turn out, say, vacuum cleaners faster than my company, if you share your ideas with me, you lose the competitive edge. Do you understand that? It's hard to be decent in a monetary system. You can pay off politicians. You can pay off the drug companies. The drug companies can pay off doctors. As long as you got money, you'll have corruption. Even the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil.
You say a few things that we could implement right now in our society or change ourselves in our own lives.
We can't change ourselves. We have to study. We have to read. We have to get ideas from all over the world. In the future, your television on Sunday will have all concepts of religion from all different points of the world, and non-religion and atheism and agnosticism. And it's up to the public to turn off what they don't want to hear. It's not up to government to regulate what they think you ought to hear. Why did these people fly these airplanes into the Trade Center? Did you ever hear their point of view?
Tell us.
Nobody did. What did we do to those people to build so much hatred over the years? Nobody gets that on television. You just get one point of view, which is not a democracy.
How do you think technology has served us?
Technology is managed by the free enterprise system. Technology is owned by the very wealthy and powerful people, and they decide policy, what schools teach, what they don't teach, and they decide what goes on in the news. Don't forget, GE owns NBC, so you're not going to get anything against GE. Do you understand what I mean? You don't have an operation of news which gives us all points of view. And as long as you don't have that, you're going to have stupidity in government and amongst the public. If they're not informed, you can't have a democracy.
But the internet then played a nice role, a big role.
The Venus Project tells things as they are.
The internet. I was asking if the internet actually played a big role, didn't it? Because on the internet you have a lot of information. We wouldn't be able to do this right now.
Oh, it's today the people all over the world know about the Venus Project. There are millions of people all over the world that now know about it. And there are organizations in every country that advocate the Venus Project, and it's growing very fast. We don't want to kill anybody, hurt anybody. We think that the wealthiest people today will live better in a resource-based economy. And if you still don't understand me, Jesus said, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." There's no money, no social stratification, no land owned by powerful people. And Jesus also said, "Love your enemy." He also said, "Thou shalt not kill." He didn't say you can kill Wednesdays and Thursdays. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." Love your enemy. Judge not, lest you be judged. I've never met a Christian, a person that behaved that way. Apparently, they don't seem to know what they're reading.
Where are you at right now in implementing the Venus Project?
We're growing very fast. People come from all over the world to visit the Venus Project here in Venus, Florida. They come from all over the world. They want to know more about it. They want to know, will an individual have the right to live in their own environment if they want to? Yes, they will. That there's nobody that directs the Venus Project. There is no government. Government has always been corrupt, all through history. If you don't understand that, Harry Truman, who was president, was a hat salesman. He had a hat store. Did you know that? Well, now, when Oppenheimer went to visit him, he said, "Now that we've given you the atom bomb, will you be kind enough to drop it 30 miles offshore and tell the Japanese that you have a terrible weapon, you'd rather not use it, demonstrate it?" And Harry Truman said, "I don't want those people in my office anymore." He was a stupid man, and he dropped a bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Do you understand that? And do you understand that the Army dumped 67 tons of nerve gas off the coast of Miami? How can you love the country and do that, dump that into the ocean? I mean, the oil companies wouldn't like the electric car because it might put them out of business. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
All right, so if you come up with if you manufacture lawnmowers, you'd like to sell a lawnmower to every house. What I would do is put engineers or agronomists on developing grass that only grows 1.5 inches, so you don't need lawnmowers. Do you understand? The lawnmower people would hate my guts if I did that.
Yeah, for sure. How about the life force? How can you really manage? I mean, the grass wants to grow like we want to grow.
Well, we can grow it in laboratories and vary the grass. All the grass that grows short, what you do is you remove those seeds and the grass comes out shorter. There are ways of solving problems. There's no shortage of energy. We would harness the waves, the wind, geothermal, temperature differential in the oceans. There's thousands of sources of energy. You needn't to worry about that. Only politicians don't know what to do. Please don't take my word. Go up and ask any politician, how do you prevent war? I don't know. How will you grow food to feed hungry people? I don't know. They really don't know a damn thing. And there'll be no politicians in the future. Everything that you have, your electric light, your washing machine, your refrigerator, are all technical. Politics was good 100 years ago, but it's obsolete today. They don't even know how to solve problems. The Democrats can't talk to the Republicans. Republicans can't talk to the Democrats. How are we going to solve problems with politics?
What do you think of Occupy Wall Street?
Without offering an alternative, it's nothing. In other words, it's not enough to criticize your government. You have to offer alternative methods to solve those problems. For example, instead of putting up a sign, drive carefully, slippery when wet, we put abrasive in the highway so it's not slippery when wet. Do you understand?
Yes. Do you keep on
solve the problems?
Yeah. Do you actually sleep, or when do you receive all this information? Are you always thinking?
Working at it for 75 years, how to design a culture to do away with most crimes. Most criminals, serial killers are all made by this society. I know it's very difficult to understand that. If you don't understand that, I'll give you an example. If you're brought up in an uneducated region of the South, you'll speak with a Southern accent, and you'd say things like, "I'm gonna get me a nigger and I'm gonna kick his butt." Where do you get that from? You get it from the environment. All racism, hatred, greed is all generated. Now, most people don't even know how. They're not educated in school. They're taught to be a plumber, a butcher, a baker, but they're not educated to think. They don't know where human values come from. They think that some people are born good, some people are lazy, some people are creative. All that's artificial. It's not real. They're made that way by culture. If you were raised as a baby in Nazi Germany, if you never saw anything else, you'd be a Nazi. It's not your fault. If you lived in ancient Rome, they're brought up to believe in many different gods. The god of war, the god of peace. They had hundreds of different gods. Some had 20 gods. Then the Christian came to town. He said, "There's only one God." And they said, "Listen to this jerk." They're brought up that way. It's normal for them to believe in many gods if they're brought up that way. So they used to feed the Christians to lions. Families used to come Saturday and Sunday and watch that. And the children say, "Daddy, can I come next week to watch Christians being fed to lions?" And Daddy would say, "If you behave yourself." Is Daddy nuts? No, he's not. He's normal to that culture. If you lived in the Arab world, it's normal to have many wives that you can afford. If you have 10 wives, that's good. If you have 20 wives, you can afford more. That is normal to that culture. It's normal to our culture to watch prize fights where you pound another person's head and damage their brain. Any physiologist will tell you that boxing is not good for people. Do you understand? We are conditioned, brought up, hey, that was a great fight. They really battled it out there. All of that stuff that you consider normal and right is detrimental.
But tell me what environment did you put you in, or what are some of the conditions so that you came up with creative solutions? I want to learn about your creative process.
Okay. My grandfather said to me, "Jacques, people came from all over the world to America, and they brought ideas, language, dialects, inventions." Louis Pasteur was a Frenchman. Without Louis Pasteur, most of us would not be alive today. So we owe so much to so many countries. My grandfather says, if you love the world, pledge allegiance to the earth, take care of it, and work for the benefit of all people. Never pledge allegiance to any one country, because they are all corrupt. And so I refused to pledge allegiance to the flag when I was 13 or 14. And the teacher grabbed me by the ear and brought me to the principal's office. And he said to the teacher, "You're excused." When she left, he put his arm around me. He said, "Why don't you want to pledge allegiance? Everybody does." I said, "Everybody once believed the earth was flat. That doesn't make the earth flat, what everybody believes." So you have to be ruthlessly honest. You have to talk about things as they are, how societies evolve, where they're corrupt, where they're decent. All aspects of society have to be faced. And as long as you have money, you can pay off politicians. If I put up $1 million to help you get elected, you owe me a favor. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You cannot, in a monetary system, have decency and ethics.
So how are you able to support yourself to create all those designs and dream and put that on paper and be so creative at it?
Write books, I make videotapes, and that helps support the Venus Project. We live in a monetary system. The government requires that we pay taxes, so we have to pay. We have to deal with that as best we can. I don't like it, but I'm trapped, as everybody else is.
What kind of support are you looking for?
Well, if people understand what I'm talking about, they will join Venus Project and participate in whatever way they can. We want to make a movie, really, a major motion picture in different languages to tour the world, to show people the kind of world they can live in if they follow the teachings of the Venus Project. The Venus Project doesn't want to kill anybody. It doesn't want to shoot anybody. It doesn't have armies, navies, prisons, or police. It has a different social system that generates different kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Are you hopeful for the future?
It's growing very fast, the Venus Project, and people are still coming from all over the world to Venus, Florida. Yes, I am hopeful. Otherwise, I wouldn't work at it.
Mm-hmm. And you're hopeful for the world in general?
Yes, the world in general. There's nothing less would do. If you try to patch up this system, it'll only go in the wrong direction.
Is it welcoming also other beings in the universe?
Yes, we do.
Tell me more about it.
Well, I don't think there are some planets that probably contain life, but I don't think that the life forms would look like us. They would look very different. And the point is, we're not educated to accept difference. We're taught about beauty, and beauty has nothing to do with anything. If you're brought up in a culture where everybody had 6 arms or a nose a foot long, that would be beautiful. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It's not a truth perspective. It's propaganda. If you're brought up to believe that our people are beautiful, that the Japanese are not, that the Philippines are not, then you're going to have problems. All people are beautiful to people raised in a culture that's different. We haven't got the broad point of view yet to be able to accept different forms of life with a different point of view. You know, when I was 21 years old, I wondered whether men, their attitude toward women was inborn or was it nurtured by culture? So I went to the South Pacific Islands and I lived there for a while. When I got there, when I got to Tuamotu, it's a chain of islands about 300 miles east of Tahiti. And the natives all walked around without any clothing. And I never saw a male stare at a female body. They were brought up swimming nude when they were children. There were no peeping toms. There were no fetishes. Do you understand? A fetish is only if you covered a girl's nose and said to a guy, "Do you ever see a girl's nose?" He'd say, "No." Show him a little bit. He says they have to loosen his collar. If he's brought up to that, we're brought up with all these deformities and misinformation, and our behavior reflects that. Mm. And since the principal said to me, "Jacques, don't you like school?" It isn't that I don't like it. The teacher didn't know how to teach. She said that was wrong when I spelled cat with a K. That was wrong doesn't tell you anything, those words. If she says that's not what I told you, that doesn't tell you anything either. So she doesn't know how to teach. So I worked with 10 children, taught them art. They all get 100. They all get 100 in whatever subject I teach. I never have anybody with lesser grade. That's because teaching is uniform. They don't know how to teach. That universities condition people to be loyal Americans, and they condition people to admire this country. They don't talk enough about the contributions of the rest of the world. We owe so much to so many different countries that I cannot pledge allegiance to any one country.
So to end this interview, Jacques, is world peace possible?
Yes. Not only world peace, but harmony. Learning how to live with nature, not conquer nature. We want to learn how to live with nature and nurture nature and not spray poisons on plants that are growing. When you use artificial means you color food to make it look better, you color apples, you put ingredients in food to increase the shelf life. If flies won't eat it, you can't live on it either. So cancer is on the increase. The system is no good. It doesn't know how to deal with problems. And I've worked for many different companies. I've worked for Northrop Aircraft Company, the Douglas Division. I've worked for Raymond D. Isa, helicopter countries, and always made safety devices, never weapons.
If you want, before leaving this earth, one thing that people will remember from you being on the planet as a message, what would that be summarized to?
Learn the methods of science. The method of science means if you take a piece of metal and you want to know how strong it is, pull it apart and write down the strength. Then compress it and then twist it. Write its torsional strength in numbers. In other words, if you're a metallurgist, if you mix different metals together, you're trying to make an object stronger or lighter. And so the method of science is to test your theories. So years ago I said, Jacques, how are you going to change the world? Thinking is talking to yourself. I said, I don't know, when I was 21. So I joined the Ku Klux Klan and I dissolved it in a month and a half. Then I joined the White Citizens Council. They hate foreigners, all foreigners. I dissolved that in 1 month. And I've been working on how to change people without hurting them or injuring them or torturing them. I think we can bridge the difference between nations without killing them, without using weapons of war. There are other methods, but as long as you have a Pentagon in Washington with people there trying to defend the country by killing other people, that does not defend the country. That only delays the hatred for the next war. So I've been practicing for years how to turn people around. But don't forget, I can't get on television or radio because I was on the Larry King show years ago and I attacked the cigarette companies for turning out these cancer sticks. They produce cancer. It may take 15 or 20 years. Why does the government permit it if they love the American people? Because they get a kickback on taxation on the cigarettes. So your government is not concerned with your well-being. They're concerned with their own survival.
I have a last little question. How do you deal with the opinion of others? How do you stay true to yourself?
Well, first of all, when the head of the Klan said to me, he said, you're a smart guy. What do you think of the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan? I said, it's a great organization, but it doesn't go far enough. That gets his ear. If you attack, you lose him.
How do you stay true to your opinion?
Well, you know that if you follow the world, its course, you're destroying the earth, the oceans, you're dumping nerve gas, spent radioactive material into the oceans, and that eventually will kill most of the fish and hurt all the world's people. I know that. I have no doubt about it. So I'm very much concerned, and this is my motivation, to make the world a safe and better place for all the world's people.
Thank you so much, Jacques, for taking this time, and really thank you for all the work that you have done and still being very much an activist.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I find it essential that we talk to people about things they can't get on the radio and news.
Yes.
Thank you again very much.
Thank you.